G'day, my name is Chris and this is the Always Very Spicy channel. I'm glad you could join me. Today is part 2 in the series where I try to answer the question, where's the best location for your main or for your alt to be based for fast, efficient completion of your daily crafting writs. The series will conclude with a top 5 overall. Part 1 has already looked at the Daggerfall Covenant original questing zones. Oh, please like, subscribe, notify for more great ESO content. But part 2 today, Ebonheart Pact. That's Stonefalls, Deshaan, Shadowfen, Eastmarch, and the Riften. Let's get going right now. And so we begin at Davon's Watch in Stonefalls, and straight away we can see we have some riding on our hands here.
Well,
thankfully the riding train is convenient, right near the entrance, as is the one and only guild vendor. Sorry to say, so
do you know how long I've been
not so
looking
good
for
if
you?
you're running short of supplies and you're hoping for a good selection at a keen price. Now the bank is, as we've just seen here, some distance away from the crafting area. Fortunately there's an Outlaw's Den nearby. We'll just turn away from the crafting area and head down towards where we do need to eventually hand in our writ crates. As we can see, more riding. Now, before we go away from here, we'll just have a little look over to the left here at this open-air tavern. Right at the back there is where our cooking fire is. And so the long trek back to the crafting area. Thankfully, these are the negatives out of the way, because from here on we've got notice boards conveniently placed. That was the equipment notice board. Clothing. Blacksmithing now. And just across the way here we've got our woodworking bench right there. And consumables, as well as the jewellery crafting, of course, in here. Enchanting, and jewellery at the back there.
Oh my, that's pleasant.
And just across the way here we have our
Do you know
alchemy.
How long I've been looking for you?
No door to go through as well, which is always a positive. Saves time. And so, Mournhold now in Deshaan. And at first glance it does seem to be the ideal location. You've got your wayshrine with lots of guild vendors surrounding it, but they are separated by quite a walking distance, so it's going to be very inefficient moving from one to the next. And that's where we turn in our crates eventually. We just went past one of the notice boards there, and that's our clothing through a door. There are a few doors to navigate here as well, which of course slows things down. To save time, I'm not going to go into all of these venues. So many doors. And it's a long ride to the riding trainer. You're probably thinking, well, a riding trainer, this video is all about writs, isn't it? Yes, but we do need to consider all factors. And if you're doing your daily writs, you'll be also doing your daily riding for sure. And not everyone has ESO Plus with tons of bag space. You do need access to bank and Sadly, the bank is also a bit of a ride away. Not everyone will have access to an Azabi companion. And just for the sake of the exercise here, we're running back to the wayshrine, and you can see there the stamina was getting quite low because it's quite some distance. Now on to the next one, which is Stormhold. And gee, I love that loading screen. It's so atmospheric. I never get tired of it. Now we're at the wayshrine and we're certainly off to an excellent start here. There's our crate hand in.
Help me out.
And yes, that's the riding trainer we can spy there. So far so good. Now we'll just head into the central hub. Now if we were to continue straight ahead, that would take us to the guild vendors. Instead we turned right and we're just going to have a little look into the bank. Whenever you're in a town and needing to do some provisioning, a bank, surprisingly, is often a good place to find a cooking fire, but not in this particular town. With the first of our notice boards here and the crafting benches just down there to the right, you can see that the bank is perfectly located. There's our other notice board there. And these are all our benches. And of course we can throw in an outfitter there. Perhaps you want your character to always look his or her best. And let's not forget the Outlaw Den as well. It's just behind the bank. Perfectly located. Do your heist, steal from whatever, and the Outlaw Den is a short distance away. Now your provisioning will occur just up in there. I guess we can call this a tavern. The fireplace is unusually right in the middle there. Now an exit, we're facing a suspension bridge, and just on the other side there is where all the guild vendors are.
Sanctioned killers on our doorstep.
Do your training.
I wouldn't say that too loud.
And it is a straight road back to the wayshrine. Our hand in. And now Windhelm and Eastmarch, and we go from good to bad, I'm sorry to say. Now it might appear to start really well, really promising with all these guild vendors here, nice and closely compacted together. You can move from one to the next really quickly and efficiently. Great, and right next to a wayshrine too. Look, there's the equipment notice board, and we've got blacksmithing, clothing there. And now we just start to get a feel that things aren't exactly right, because it's a bit of walking between both stations and quite a distance to the riding trainer there. It's too short to mount, but then it's sort of a bit too far for running as well. Now on the run back, veer to the right. Always veer to the right, because otherwise if you try to go through the pavilion there, you'll have a forced dismount. Just a little glance up there to the wayshrine. And it's the long trek down to the other crafting area. Behind a closed door. Thankfully almost everything's here. You've got the cooking fire, enchanting, jewel crafting and alchemy all included here. Of course there's one thing missing. And that's the carpenter. It's way down here.
This is the life.
And it gets worse. It's through a locked door as well. And we're going to see how far we have to travel to get back to the wayshrine. Bear in mind that we haven't even located the bank or the location of the hand-in crates. That was just to highlight the notice board there for the Writ. Okay, guild vendors, wayshrine. Still quite some distance to go for our hand in. On and on and on we ride. Finally we're here. Certainly not as bad as the Alakir Desert. Still having nightmares over that one. Traumatized forever, perhaps. And we've found the bank.
I'm not sure about that. The Nord woman from Whiterun looks like she can hold her mead.
I was just checking to make sure that there's an Outlaw's Den there. And here we are. For what it's worth, that was Windhelm, and now on to Riften in the Rift. And similarly, riding is the story of the day here. Now that appears to be a good start there with our notice board and nearby crafting stations, and there's obviously a cooking fire in there. And then we head out of town on a long ride.
Nasty business in Stormhold. You must enjoy having
Well,
the ear
it's
of the
nasty business here as well if you're wanting to do your riding training at the same time as your Writ dailies. And the long ride back to town. All these little things just add up to overall annoyances, especially when you realise there are far better towns in Tamriel for which to base your character for your daily writs. It's always good when the crafting stations are open air. More open air ones here. Enchanting and jewellery. Of course, enchanting is doubled up. There's enchanting on the other side of town, as is alchemy on the other side of town, and just down here. You can jump down, but then you've got to go through some ramps to get back up again. That's our thievery location. And of course we have our vendors for offloading all the rubbish you get after you've handed in your writs. Before we do that, we're going to have a look at the guild vendors. They're slightly out of town. Now, when you're shopping, you want the guild vendors to be next to each other ideally, so you can move from one to the next efficiently. And just have a look at this travesty. Good lord. They're so spread out. I mean, you can't mount to go from one to the next, but then you've got to do a fair bit of running as well. Now back into town, and we're heading towards the wayshrine. You can see that just in the distance there. And just down here we've got to jump down, and that's how we hand in our daily writs. Which begs the question, how are we going to get back up? And of course that just chews up our valuable playtime as well, and it becomes an annoyance day in day out when you're doing your daily writs. There is a kind of workaround. You can jump down here and hand in the writs, and then into the water, and then up onto the jetty there. I guess it's trying to make good something that's bad, but time to take stock and see what outcomes we have from our travels through the Ebonheart Pact zones. Riften, as we just saw, has an incredible amount of inefficiency for those extra things we optionally associate with our daily activities. Guild vendors and riding training, the cumbersome mechanism for handing in our writs, and the recovery from that leaves a lot to be desired. A quick plug before Windhelm, part 3 of this series is all about the Old Merry Dominion. It has some interesting outcomes, I hope you watch it. Now, Windhelm is characterised by riding between everything really, woodworking in a faraway nook with stairs and a door to negotiate. In fact, everything seems spread to all 4 corners. I'm searching for writ bases to build my top 5 video, and Windhelm certainly didn't inspire me in that respect. So that you don't miss any of this tour, you might do yourself a favour and hammer that subscribe button, tailor a like, and grind the notification bell. You'll also not miss any of my other ESO projects, including quick tips of just a few minutes to some awesome ambience videos of about 90 minutes duration. Davon's watch was promising with the writ boards, open air crafting benches, and just the one door to access other tables, but the pathway to from the bank, as well as the long ride to the harbour for the writ hand-ins and the long ride out of town for the wayshrine make Davon's watch less than appealing. Mournhold is popular with players, but for ordinary daily crafting writs it is far from good. Long walks between closed crafting halls and guild vendors, and a long ride to the bank and riding trainer, and an inaccessible Outlaw's Den to clear our bags means that the centralised wayshrine is all Mournhold has to offer. Which means that Stormhold in Shadowfen, steeped in immersive ambience, is by far the best place for anyone based in Ebonheart territory. Notice boards, tables and the bank are all clustered together. Those extras, like the Thieves' Den, guild vendors and a riding trainer, are likewise handy, and of course the writ hand-ins are adjacent to the wayshrine. Perfect! But does it make it into our top 5? I'll be honest here, it misses out by Khajiit's whisker. You could say it's an honourable mention. You could also say I'm a tough judge. Speaking of Khajiit, and Wood Elves too I suppose, next up we go south to the Old Merry Dominion. I do hope you watch that video. Until then, my name is Chris, this is the Always Very Spicy channel, and won't you stay spicy